So for me, when I talk about a goal, I set my activity as my goal. Because if I set my activity as my goal, then I hit that thing every single day. It's like, okay, I did all the things that I needed to do to get to that dude right there in 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is. What do you think about that?
I think you're putting the intention out there. I think it's amazing. I think most people need to be intentional. One thing that we talk about in the course and we talk about in the book is, right, you have to be intentional. And most people, they're not intentional. And forgive me out there, my brothers and sisters, but so many of my Christian believers out there, they expect God to do everything for them. And no, God's going to bless you, but you got to give God something to bless. And what Sean is saying is you have to be intentional. You have to wake up.
What is up, guys? Sean Fridge here, back with another episode of the podcast. You've guessed it, The Determined Society. Today, I have with me someone very, very special, a good friend, someone that I really look up to. And the reason being is because he's all about what he says he's doing. He's all about people, God, and just showing love to everybody. I have with me today a business coach, a best-selling author, and he's out there helping entrepreneurs and business owners scale their business, make money, and love life while they're doing it. Guys, welcome Daniel Gomez to the show. What's up, my man?
Man, I've been looking forward to this on the calendar, brother. Ready to bring some energy, bring some passion, and bring some truth about business and just life, man. So thank you for having me, brother. I'm excited to be here with you.
Bro, I love it, man. The last 2 times I was like, I got sick both times. And like, it's just like, it was funny. I read your message and I'm like, it's like, bro, it's the second time you've gotten sick on me. I was like, yeah, dude, like, I guess you're right. Like, I don't know what to say. Hopefully you don't think that I don't want to do this. And it's funny because, Daniel and I were talking a little bit before we hit record and he's like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know, man. I'm in Fort Myers, Florida. I think we're going to get hit with a hurricane tomorrow, but here we are. We're going to do this damn show.
Well, I'm praying for your protection over there, my brother. Just know that, man, because I know a friend of mine had an event.
Oh, I appreciate it.
A friend of mine had a big event in Miami, and I know that they were concerned about the hurricane, and it's real, right? When you're part of Florida and a resident there, it's something that happens year in and year out, so you got to be prepared for that.
It's funny because I actually took the time to exercise, and I told you so to my wife today. And so, guys out there that are married, please don't take my advice on this and don't do this regularly. But I earned this one. When we built this house and we moved in, there was 2 things that I wanted to get: an in-ground generator, right, with the the propane tank, so the whole house goes, and hurricane impact windows. And I was like, no, we're good. And so today I just looked at her, I go, this is the last time I'm worrying about hurricane shutters. And I finally got you're right. So
yeah,
there will be hurricane impact windows in this house by next summer.
The good thing about it is you're preparing for the future. You're preparing for what's to come. And in business, most people never even prepare themselves for what's right. And what do I mean by that, right? You have to have wisdom in business. You have to have wisdom in life. And most people, they don't I call it common sense. They don't even apply common sense. And a good example of that is they make $100. They want to spend $200 in business, and you can't do that. You got to reinvest it inside yourself. You got to prepare for your growth. You got to prepare for the next level. And when we came out with our new brand, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, it's like I wasn't planning on making it a brand. It was just going to be a book. And then actually, we're investing $10,000, another $20,000. I'm like, okay, like what's going on here? But you have to make those investments because you don't know what's about to come around the corner like that hurricane. You got to be, it's called preparation, right? Everybody wants to be successful, but think about this. I'm glad we're talking about, we're using engineering terms. If everybody wants to live in the big mansion, everybody wants to live in the big house, but before you can live in the big house, Sean, you got to pour the concrete, you got to form the foundation, then you got to frame it, whether you use wood or 2x4s or you have the structure, and that's the beginning. And it looks ugly, right? And think about when you see a house under construction, like that's going to be my house. Where's the storage? You can't see it. But then as the walls started to come up, you're like, wow, I see it. And that's the way your business needs to be. You need to start with the right foundation. Everybody wants to live in the business and make the millions, but they don't want to build a proper foundation. And that's why most businesses fell within the first, right? 90% fell within the first 3 years because they have the wrong foundation and they lack the structure, they lack the framing, they lack the integrity, right? And not integrity as far as moral integrity, but the integrity of the strength. Are you going to withstand that hurricane? Are you going to, do you have the proper windows? And 90% of them, they don't.
It's funny because getting into this a couple of years ago, I didn't know any of this stuff. And, for me, I'm always trying to prepare for 2 years down the road. And a lot of times people say, hey, you need to work on what's in front of you right now. And I get that to a certain point. I truly understand that. But, I'm different. In people that have worked with me in my corporate world and said, why are you able to do what you're able to do in your sales every single year, every single month? Why are you the dude? Well, it's because I see things before they happen. And I don't mean I'm some visionary. I mean some weird, Minority Report, with the cogs sitting in my basement or anything like that. But it's just I'm able to kind of see things, right? I'm truly able to see okay, I think this is going to happen. How can I beat it there? And if I can beat it there, then I know that I'm ready. I'm sitting here and it's coming at me. I'm okay, I already dealt with you. It's the same thing with the hurricane impact windows, right? I know next year I'm not going to worry about hurricanes. My biggest stressor is going to be can I get to the water and the gas pump before everybody in Florida goes crazy? And that's the same thing. I love how you put that because, that's the thing though. In business, it's completely applicable. Yeah. We are not preparing for the hurricanes in our business. Most of us. And the other thing is when you're building it, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this show, right? When you guys hit play, you're going to get some knowledge dropped on you by my people that come on the show. My guests always have the best things to say. But when you're building that house, right? And you're looking around, is that going to be my house? I remember when we're building our house, I'm that's my bathroom? Where am I going to go to the bathroom? How's this thing going to work out? And dude, it's funny that you said that because literally building this business over the last couple of years, it's that's the thought. Dude, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
Literally, that is how I felt for the last year. Dude, where's the bathroom?
And you know what most businesses don't do is they're building the foundation of the house and they build all the luxuries, but they forget the reserves. And I have a different approach on the reserves. I believe you have to save 10% of every dollar you earn, right? I believe you give 10% to charity, whatever you support, but you have to, it's mandatory that you save 10%. And people say, why, Daniel? Because it's if you got to get in the habit of saving, not right. I don't believe in an emergency fund. I believe in a freedom fund. It gives you freedom. It's about freedom. It's about freedom, Sean. It's about freedom to be able to give money to your daughter when she wants to buy her house. It's for the freedom to pay for the family vacations. It's for the freedom to say, I've been working my butt off for the whole year. I want to take a couple of weeks off. I can because I have the freedom because I have money saved up. And when you have a freedom account, right? I'm against the emergency fund because if you're planning for an emergency, you're going to have one.
It's a negative connotation, right? It's negative.
Yeah, because because you're going to attract it. So to me, what I teach a freedom fund. When you have a freedom fund, you have the freedom to buy a watch when you want it. You have a freedom to buy a car when you want it. You have a freedom to bless somebody when you want them. And just the other day, right? And some people, man, Daniel, you're arrogant. You come across wrong. No, it's yesterday at church, we were walking out, and I don't say this, I say this in all humility, but God says, hey, bless this guy. And I'm okay, well, it's hot outside. It's still hot in Texas. So I gave him, I shook his hand. I go, here, man, God bless you, brother. Oh, I can't take this. No, man, God put it in my heart. You're stealing my blessing if you don't take it. But it's the freedom to pour into people and to bless other people. And I want to really, your audience to hear this. You got to start saving your freedom fund. You got to start saving 10%. And people are going to say, Daniel, I can't even afford to do this. Well, you can afford not to save because that's really what gave me the freedom over time. When my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, Sean, it's I had the freedom to start my business because I've always practiced this for the past 15, 20 years is right. I save a dime from every dollar, and you don't think it's going to add up. Before you know it, you got 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, and $250,000, and it builds up, and you're like, wow, how did this happen? But it's the freedom of knowing that, hey, it's going to be a rough month, or hey, this is going on, or I don't going to go on and make we went to Hawaii in May because I had a keynote over there, and we were gone almost for 10 days, and I didn't even worry about it because it was just the fact that I had the peace of knowing, hey, I'm going to trust in God. Everything's going to work out. And it worked out that we ended up having such a great time in Hawaii that we ended up onboarding new clients over there and enrolling people in our program. So, but it's because
I remember that. I remember that.
Right?
I remember that.
I want your audience to hear this. Is when you have that freedom account, you don't have the stress, the pressure of closing a deal every single day. You're like, you know what? You want, right? It's like, I want your business. It's a different attitude, right? I want your business, Sean, but I don't need your business. Mm-hmm. And when you have that attitude, it's like people want to deal with people that can like lead that way.
Yeah, man. So a couple of things. First and foremost to that, people can smell that a mile away. If you're desperate for the deal, you're desperate to close them, guess what? You're not going to, because they're going to pick up on that energy and they'll be like, well, hey, if this person really wants to sell that bad, maybe his program or her program's really not going to really help me, right? Because there's no value in it. So I love that. The other thing is like just attention to time, because that was in May. I feel like you were just there 2 weeks ago. I mean, that's the kind of matrix we're in, right? Like, I remember you and your family being in Hawaii and watching that whole journey, and just how you were so blessed while you were there, picking up new clients, onboarding new clients. And I just felt like that was like last month. I'm sorry. Like, I can't believe it was 2 months ago or May. Like, what? Yeah. I don't even know. It's almost October.
It's October to hear this weekend's going to be October.
Yes, it's almost 5 months ago.
It doesn't even seem like it. And I want. You know, it's a journey when you start becoming, right? Most people that want to start a business, they never embody the identity of a businessman. They leave the 9 to 5, they leave that corporate job, and then they step into entrepreneurship, and then they stop there, and they never fully invest in themselves and developing that millionaire mindset, that business mindset. And the biggest thing that people say, Daniel, how, right? First of all, I had a business mindset when I started my business, but at that point I was starting from zero, from scratch. But the thing is, when you start from zero and you already have, right, somebody who comes in as an employee mindset, you start from new. Well, you think like an employee. Well, you're here at ground zero. But when you have that business, when you ran multi-million-dollar businesses, you kind of have a business mindset. So you start up a little bit higher. And then I said, well, even though I have a leg up, I still need to get more knowledge. So the first thing I did was hire 2 coaches. Hired one, worked with him for 6 months, hired another one. And right, most people don't want to invest in themselves, and you really got to understand that. Why would you want to go around the circle of frustration, go around that circle over and over and over and over around that mountain, when just hire a coach? Stop being cheap. Stop thinking like an employee. See it as a return on investment, an investment in yourself, and it's going to accelerate what you're doing. And that's really what helped me to really not be scared. Because believe me, I mean, people say, oh, Daniel, you're not scared. I go, man, I'm scared all the time. Believe me, my plans weren't to buy a new stage for $10,000. My plans weren't to buy. Yeah,
you just did.
It's like, you got to.
Yeah. It's so funny. You're not funny, but when you talk about stepping into entrepreneurship, right? A lot of people step into entrepreneurship because that's the cool thing to do now. Right? Like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, put it on my Instagram profile. I'm legit. No, that does not make you an entrepreneur. All right. What makes you an entrepreneur is starting your business and understanding that you cannot do it alone. And there's coaches out there like Daniel and like myself and other amazing individuals that we are, in communication with, mutual friends. Hire people like that, because the one thing that I've seen, and this is the one that just gets me, and I'm sure you get it as well. Hey, I want to grow my business. I want to blow up my Instagram. I want to get some exposure. I want to go out there and speak. I want to write that book. I want people to turn and see my face. I'm like, cool, awesome. Here's your investment. What? Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, that's just a lot of money. I'm like, well, okay, go buy a Jimmy John's. Yeah. You're going to need $750,000. Like, I mean, something like that. What do you find? And because to me, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of pretenders that want to jump in, but they don't want to spend $40,000, $50,000 on an annual program.
Or
that's honestly, that's cheap.
They want to.
That's nothing. Want
free, right? They want free advice, and I don't mind, right? This is what I want your audience to hear, is that you can serve your way to being broke. you can serve your way out of business. What do I mean by
Yeah,
that?
man.
It's the cool fad right now is serve, right? I want to be a servant leader, service, and I'm all about giving. Believe me, we support a numerous of charities and nonprofits, and but the thing is this: is think about COVID, the season we just came out of. Restaurants went out of business.
Mm.
Businesses went out of business. Why? Because there was zero revenue. There was zero cash flow going through there. And everybody wants to give everything away and serve. And they're like, Daniel, why can't you just serve your way and help us? And I'm like, well, you got to make an investment because people that pay attention, Sean. People that pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And there comes a point where you got to make that financial investment in yourself because it's just the law, right? You reap what you sow, and if you can't sow that confidence into yourself, if you can't sow that investment in yourself, how do you expect other people to do it? And the thing is, when you pay attention. And I say that again because people need to understand that there comes a point where, right, I'm going to come and I'm going to help you, and I'll give you a couple of tidbits, but after that, it's like, hey, it's not that I'm a butthead or I don't care. It's like I've invested over $200,000 in myself, and to your point, think about this. Now it's even more. To buy a McDonald's franchise, you're going to pay $1 million even just for the franchise before you sell one fry, one Happy Meal. So what makes you think that you're going to come into business and have a zero investment interest in yourself? If you're not invested in you, then you're not gonna make it. And another thing to that is this: is that think about when people go to college. Right now, my son's going to graduate this year. We've invested over $250,000 into him, into school, before he even before he even graduates. So what makes you as an employee coming into a entrepreneur mindset, a small business, whichever one you want to call yourself, either a small business owner or entrepreneur, to think that you're not going to make an investment and you're going to succeed? It doesn't work that way, right? You have to pay the cost, right? You have to pay. Think about this. It's like you're talking about the hurricane coming. Who's going to say, well, let me do this before I pay my gas bill, before I pay my electricity bill, I'm just going to go and I'm going to turn on the stove in case it gets cold and I'm going to let the heat come out. No, you got to put wood in that, right? You got to make the investment and buy the wood, put it in there, turn it on. That's the investment. Then the heat comes. The heat doesn't come and then you're going to put the wood in there and turn on the electricity. It'd be stupid or dumb to think that way, but that's the way we think in business, right? I'm gonna get the money, then the success comes first, and then you attract the revenue. And people think that, oh, I'm gonna attract the monies, no, and then be successful. It doesn't work that way. Success comes before the monies.
Dude, that is the point. That is the very point, right? And we understand it. And there was a time where, maybe that had to be beaten into our head, right? So we're not here to beat you up. This is not us telling you guys that are listening, gals that are listening, that you don't know what you're doing. But I mean, think about this. If I tell you, hey, type this address in, and when you see on Zillow, it's a mansion and it's worth $7 million on the beach in Destin, Florida. And I tell you, all you have to do is give me 50 grand in 2 days and it's yours. You're going to go to everybody you know and you will have that 50 grand.
Yes.
Right? Because when you know the true value of something, the money is nothing. It's just an exchange of energy. Right? So you're going to go get that 50,000. You have to look at when you are hiring coaches for your business so you can be successful in an online space where it is uber competitive, because dudes like Daniel and myself have way too much energy. We will go and we will invest what we need to invest. Right? But if you look at your career, if you look at the business you want to build, like that $7 million house on the beach, 40, 50 grand is nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. Think about it. That you're able to find that no matter what. I think people get really caught up on that it scares them. It's that, sticker shock, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended.
I love that.
Maybe.
I love that. It's like I talk about it in my book is you have to protect your heart, right? And I talk about that because there's going to come a point, like myself, I'll be honest, Sean, I got lazy, right? I'm right. So I'm not bashing the audience, but I'm going to bash myself, right? I'm going to be real. I'm going to be genuine. I got lazy. I'll never forget being in Florida. We were on this yacht and we had an event with Floyd Mayweather and it was beautiful. And I told this guy, hey, I'm going to buy that house. That's a beautiful house. And they gave us a tour on the yacht. They showed us the Al Pacino house, Scarface, and Gloria Stefan's house. And I'm like, but there was this beautiful house. And I just said, man, I'm going to have a house like that. And the guy looked at me like, he kind of chuckled. I said, seriously? So we got back to the hotel room and I was looking at the pictures and I'm like, this isn't good. And my friend goes, what's wrong? I'm like, dude, my cheeks look chubby. He's like, well, what's wrong with that? I'm like, bro, I got lazy. Like, I didn't realize how lazy, comfortable, right? Success can make you comfortable sometimes, Sean. And I said, as much as I want that house, I self-reflected that whole night and then that next day as we were just doing things there. I said, the person that I am today can't buy that house. That's not me right now. Currently, I got to grow into that person. I called my trainer that I have right now, Reggie. I said, hey, bro, you've been wanting to train me for a year now, and I need you at my house Monday at 6:30 if you want to do this. He goes, what? Like, I cut him out of the blue. I'm like, bro, either you're going to come or I'm going to hire somebody else. He goes, I'll be there. I don't know what happened, but I'll be there. And I just said, man, like, I didn't realize, because I was going, right? It wasn't that I wasn't going to the gym, Sean. I was going to the gym because I always make little comments on your post too, right? Like, come on, another rep. I was going through the motions.
Exactly.
But I was just going to the gym, just going through the motions, right? Really, there was no intensity. There was no passion. It was just to say I went to the gym. But I'll tell you, once I hired Reggie, everything changed, because this is what I said to myself. I said, my cheeks are chubby. Even though our business is growing, I'm not pushing myself in my workouts. And I believe, which is right, the way you do something is the way you do everything. I said, so if I'm taking shortcuts in my workout, I'm taking shortcuts in business. I just can't see it because I don't have the awareness of where I'm at. The moment I hired Reggie,
right,
man, this past, in November will be a year that I've been working with them 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week. He comes to my house. Our revenue, we've already doubled what we did last year, and we're going to have a record-breaking year this year. And I attribute that, a huge part of that, because I made the investment, not just in the business aspect, but in my physical health, hiring Reggie, because it pushed me to not be lazy, not be comfortable. And I said, man, so I have my mind, one more set, one more rep in the workout gym. So over here, I'm like, one more phone call, one more client, right? I took myself to another level.
Yeah, man, it's important because, some people, can push themselves in the gym, and some people need that push. For me, I can push myself in the gym, but I know I would benefit from someone like right there, right? I don't think one-on-one coaching or in-person coaching for workouts is dead. I think it's still very much a thing, and it should be. But it's funny you mentioned, because we all go through those seasons in our lives, right? We go through the workouts, but maybe our nutrition's not on point, and we're building this business, and some things do suffer, but it takes a very special, honest moment with yourself. And what I want the audience to really truly understand is, like, we are harder on ourselves than we could ever be harder on you. Like, I analyze myself constantly. It's like, okay, dude, like, are you that guy right now? Like, this is where you want to be in your business. But are you that guy right now? Because if you're not that guy right now, you're not going to get there. So I love that you mentioned that, because that's an important thing. You had to become that guy. And there's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself and literally coming to that conclusion.
And the thing is, is we tend to blame others. We tend to blame COVID, right? People that blame COVID, I think COVID did have a hindrance on business, but it either made you better or it made you bitter. And you either grew through that or you became a victim of it. And I say that because I had to grow through that. I lost the first week of COVID, I lost $50,000 in keynotes. That was my business. I was just a straight up speaker. And it's like, right. There was no business, no book sales, right?
Not going anywhere.
So I had to learn, like, what else can I do? What else is there to do, or how can I implement the speaking into the different aspects of my business? So it was really being honest with Daniel. Is like, hey, it's time to grow. And this is the thing is listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean this with all sincerity. I talk about my financial thermostat in my book. And in our course, we talk about, what are you doing to raise your financial thermostat? Because if you come out of corporate America and you're working 9 to 5 and you're making $50,000 a year, well, then most of us, 80% of the entrepreneurs are only going to make $50,000 in revenue in their business. If you're making $100,000, you're going to come out, and the likelihood of you hitting that is $100,000, because your financial thermostat is there. So you have to raise that financial thermostat to know that your business has to grow beyond what you're comfortable with. And if you don't raise that financial thermostat, if you don't raise your financial set point, your business is never going to grow. And that's why most businesses stay stagnant, they stay comfortable. And then people say, well, I'm not doing bad. I got my own business and I'm making more than about what I'm making at my other company and my other job. And they get comfortable. And you got to understand that you have to grow that financial set point, that financial thermostat. Why not thinking multi-millions, thinking hundreds of millions? Like, right, we went the other day, Sunday, to go look at this house. An old Spur used to live there, right? San Antonio Spur. And I told my real estate agent, you know what? I need to go out there and I need to go touch my goal. He's like, what do you mean? I go, yeah. I go, I'm not ready to buy this house yet, but I need to go touch this goal. So we went looking at this $3 million home. Dude, it was amazing, right? They gave us this tour. And could we buy this house? Maybe right now, but we would be home poor, to be honest with you, because, right, to buy a $3 million home. But the thing is this, is I allowed myself to go out there and experience this whole different level of living than what we have right now. And I was like, why not? But that little things like that put you at that next level, in that financial thermostat, that financial success level. You got to raise your financial set point and you got to do things that make you uncomfortable. So what is it in your life right now? What is it in your business? Maybe you're thinking, I need new offices. So go out there and go look at a new office space and go dream, go touch it, go take a tour of this building. And you're saying, Daniel, I can't afford it. Well, stop saying I can't afford it. Stop saying, how can I afford it? And go out there and walk through there. Go test drive that new car. Go try on that new tag, that new Rolex, whatever you want. And taste the dream, taste the goal. Because the thing is this, what I see, Sean, is most people get caught up in the task. And they think because they get caught up in the task, that's the goal. No, the task is not the goal. The goal is the vision, right? And I ask people, well, what is goal? Well, it's a desired, I don't know. Most people don't even know what a goal is, right? They say it, but I go, well, I told this one guy, I'll give you $100 right now if you tell me what's the definition of a goal. And he couldn't tell me. Well, I go, you use the word. It's a financial outcome, right? It's a desired outcome that you want as a human being. What's a desired outcome that you want? But you got to do things to get you to that desired outcome. You have to envision it. You have to go taste it. You have to go touch it and walk through it. And I'll tell you, I was a little nervous because it was just like, sometimes when you go to these open houses where it's right, big old mansions, they're like, well, where's your pre-approval letter? And we didn't have one. I just said, hey, my realtor did send me, because we do have our realtor.
It's in the mail,
real, right? But my realtor did send us, and it was a good experience. And you got to do that, because now, like, I look back of what we've done, and so many things have come just for real for us this year, Sean. It's been amazing what God's done for us.
You know, it's you have been blessed. You know, I've been very, very. You know, you come across people and then, you know, you follow them, they follow you back, and you don't really know what's going on with them. But dude, it's been a pleasure watching you in the last year, just doing what you're doing. Like, I'm rooting for you, bro. You know that. I absolutely love it. I'm still waiting to figure out why you haven't asked me to speak at the Sticker Shock yet, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to it. But no, it's funny because you see what I did there, guys? It's about putting things out in intention. But dude, like, you're talking about the goal, right? I'm just like you. Now, my wife can sit there and I'm like, hey, that's not our reality right now. I don't want to go get excited about something. She has the accountant brain, where I'm like a Labrador retriever with a bone. Like, I want to go look at it, because I know if I go look at it, if I sit in that vehicle, if I go walk through that house, I can reverse engineer everything from that point on. Right? I did it with the house that we're in right now, and I could do it. I do it all the time. So it's funny, because when you talk about a goal, we all have that end game, right? Where we're going to be, right? It's not, because I don't define it as where I want to be. I know I'm going to be a global speaker. I know this is going to be a thing. So for me, when I talk about a goal, I set my activity as my goal. Because if I set my activity as my goal, then I hit that thing every single day. It's like, okay, I did all the things that I needed to do to get to that dude right there in 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is. What do you think about that?
I think you're putting the intention out there. I think it's amazing. I think most people need to be intentional. One thing that we talk about in the course and we talk about in the book is, right, you have to be intentional. And most people, they're not intentional. And forgive me out there, my brothers and sisters, but so many of my Christian believers out there, they expect God to do everything for them. And no, God's going to bless you, but you got to give God something to bless.
Mm-hmm.
And what Sean is saying is you have to be intentional. You have to wake up and you have to, right? There's different seasons under the sun. What do I mean by that? There's a season to sow seeds. So there's a time that I'm making phone calls where we're doing out there, we're prospecting, and right, it's no sales are coming in, and that could last a week, 2 weeks, and then next thing you know, the third week, sales start coming in, which is part of the gig, right? Mm-hmm. So what Sean is saying is you got to do both. You got to sow seeds, and then you got to reap the harvest. But most people, Sean, is when the harvest is there, they don't see the opportunities because they're poor-minded. And they focus on the problems. They focus on the obstacles. And instead of seeing the obstacles as an opportunity, it's like they miss the blessing because they're not used to thinking that way. And you have to really see that there's an abundance of opportunity out there. There's an abundance of work out there. There's an abundance of money out there for all of us. And it gives you the freedom to really go out there and make a difference. So when you set that task or that daily goal, like you're saying, it's going to lead to, right? It's going to lead to a bigger success down the road. And most people don't like that. You know why, Sean? Because they want the instant gratification. They want the microwave. I want to put it into a microwave and I want my pizza right now. And I was guilty of that. I'm totally honest. Like,
haven't we all been at one point? It's like, I still have flashes of it, right? I mean, it still comes up. But like you said, you have to think.
Well, the thing is this, is if as much as I wanted to be where I am today 5 years ago, I would have collapsed. I wasn't ready for it. And we think we're ready for it. We really think we're ready for it. And it goes back to the foundation that I started off with. My foundation would have collapsed. I would have self-imploded. And we know think about what happened as we came out of 2020. How many speakers, how many coaches, how many businesses didn't make it because they had the improper foundation? They were just putting Band-Aids on their foundation, on their business, on their lives. And then when the pressure came, it was like the big bad wolf. The big bad wolf came and the house was made of straw and sticks, and he thought it was made of bricks, but it wasn't. So it collapsed under that. And I'm glad that God didn't give me the success that I wanted back then, because I wouldn't have handled it.
Yeah, I think it's very important for everybody, whether you are a podcast host or you're an entrepreneur, speaker, school teacher, Pizza Hut manager, just understand what you have in your life right now is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And I think that is very, very difficult for very driven people to accept and swallow that pill. Because for me, if you told me right now, hey, French, where you're at right now is exactly what you can handle, I would want to like, all right, bro, let's wrestle. Cause I don't like that. But the reality is there's something, right? And there's something that you're in right now, that needs to be addressed in order for you to go and be, every single thing that you have a Daniel Gomez 3.0. Like there is, right? You're at 2.0 right now. You want 3.0, but you got to get there. And so it's the same thing with me. Like in competitive people like myself and like yourself, man, that can be tough sometimes. But the understanding, like, okay, this is fine. What's going on right now? I'm supposed to be, this is happening for me. Like, this is what God wants for me. I'm learning something here. Like, so I can either be pissed about it or I can say, all right, dude, you know way more than me. You haven't failed me yet. Just, I'm here. Like, I'm going to go through it. And I think it's at times that can be very painful, right? Because I went through a season probably 2 months ago where, and I'll say this on open air, I don't care. There was a point, dude, and I was getting ready to record some big shows with some big people out there. In like 15 minutes before, I was on the verge of tears. It's like, dude, I can't, I don't know what's going on. I can't handle this. And it was that season. Is that season of just all the calls, all the no sales, all the no thank yous, and then boom.
Yeah.
Got to go through it.
Well,
You got to go through
well,
it.
the thing is this, I never forget, we had Bradley on the podcast, and I was nervous, and you could tell at the beginning of it that I was, but it was okay. It's like I won because I put myself in that arena. So then when I had Brandon Dawson on there, like, man, Brandon Dawson was my best friend, right? We text each other, and I felt right. It just put me in that confidence, and it was just like, wow, right? I'm having a conversation with probably one of the top 100 wealthiest men in the world, not in America, but in the world, Brandon Dawson, right, from Grand Cardinal Ventures. And it's like, dude, like, good stuff,
Co-founder.
man. Let's do this, right? I'm like, cool. And when we carried it, and to be with him and to text him and to correspond with him, it's like, you got to know that people see your heart, people see your intentions, and but I had to grow into that person. And what I want your audience to take away from this is that I went through this too, because Sean, right? I want your audience to hear this, because I just went through this with a client of mine, and I was going through this, is that everybody wants to have the big business and have their revenue, but they think poor-minded in so many ways. And what do I mean by that? They don't pay their vendors on time. They get an invoice, they have the money in the bank, and then I'll just pay it later, or they know they owe money, and they don't pay that invoice. I don't care if it's $50 or $1,000, I pay my invoice, God willing, within the first 2 days, right? That's my goal, because I know what it's like, and God honors that. And the second thing is you got to pay your employees. And most people, when on a conference that I had, a coaching call that I had, this conference call, is like, I told my client, I said, why don't you hire somebody? They're like, well, because I don't want to, I want the money for myself. I'm like, you're never going to grow. You're never going to grow. So listen to what I'm saying. Those two things will hinder you from becoming that next level, that 3.0 version, right? Forget the 2.0. Everybody uses 2.0. Like Sean said, the 3.0 version. And I had to really grow through that, Sean, because we're not right now. It's not right. Hundreds don't scare me. Thousands don't scare me. But now we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? If I was to tell you what my monthly nut is every single month, my son's like, Dad, how do you sleep? I'm like, son, because we got the revenue to cover the expenses and more. But you have to pay your people. You have to pay your employees right then and there. And people that don't pay them, their businesses suffer, because it's a lack of character. And God doesn't bless, right? Dishonest scales, God doesn't bless that. And when your vendor sends you a bill, pay your vendors. I know what it's like, man. I remember 5 years ago, I was dying just to get to $5,000 a month. It's like $5,000 a month. I'm like, hallelujah, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Like, look at this, it happened.
And it's like, wow, it was a big deal just to get to 5,000. And praise God, now we got $5,000 days all the time. But I remember what it's like. So it's like, pay those people, pay those vendors. And that's the first mistake. So don't make that mistake. Grow. It's going to hurt. You're going to be scared, believe me. But I promise you, when you pay that invoice right off the bat, when you pay your employees right off the bat, man, and then the second thing is that you got to duplicate yourself. No business is going to grow unless you duplicate yourself as the owner. Whatever you do, delegate it, but duplicate yourself. Now, right, we're making revenue off of right our courses, because we invested in a sales team. Well, I don't want to be selling everybody all the time. So pay a commission. And people don't want to do that because they want to keep the money off of themselves, and you're never going to grow.
But if you don't have that team, you don't have all that money to even split. Like, guys, think about this. This is exactly what he was talking about. Poor-minded. You're talking about this fictional $200,000. Well, if I have a sales team, I got to pay them 20 grand or whatever the money, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It could be 40 grand. Yeah, but you have 160 left. Like, where you wouldn't have that. You would have maybe a net of maybe $45,000 if you're doing it yourself. Maybe. Dude, it's hard. You need people out there pushing.
So here's the shift. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want a big, humongous piece of a small little cake? Or do you want a generous slice of a humongous cake?
I know I'm choosing the latter.
And most people think in the format, because you got to go buy this book. Go to the makingsofamillionairemind.com. That's the makingsofamillionairemind.com. Get your book, get the course. It's going to help you. Don't go with that big old slice for yourself. No, be generous. Just take a a good portion of the bigger slice, of the bigger cake. Don't take that small cake and you have a big old piece of a small nothing when you can have a generous slice of a big old humongous piece of just think of a pizza. If you don't want a cake, right? Maybe you're saying, Dad, well, guess what? Would you rather have a personal pizza and it's all to yourself? Think about that. Yeah, it's a better analogy, right? You got a personal pizza and you eat it in one bite, or do you want a super duper giant, right, humongous pizza and one slice is bigger than a personal pan pizza?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And because I was going to get to this, as I always put this stuff in the show notes for my guests. Is it makings of a millionaire mind.com?
Yeah, the makings of a millionairemind.com.
Yeah, I have that. So guys, the makings of a millionairemind.com, go buy the book, enroll in the courses. If you heard anything today that really kind of, stuck out to you that Daniel said, man, like get in contact with his team, like truly just bet on yourself. I'm going to buy the damn book. Listen, like you have to be able to take direction from people you respect, right? So you got something out of it, please. So I didn't want you to feel like we're definitely going to cover that. I'm going to put, and I'm actually going to link it back to your website in the show notes so they can just click on your name and it takes them right to that actual page so they can buy that book.
And I say
because they need it.
Because it's like, I know what we have significantly helps people because I've seen it. I've seen it in my own life. Mm-hmm. I've seen it in my son. I've seen it in people that I love, right? And it's not about selling a book. It's not about selling a course. It's about impacting your life and significantly changing, right?
Yeah.
Significant, that huge shift. If I can change your heart, your life's going to change. And that's where the true transformation comes, right? Because the word of wisdom says this, is that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And it's beyond the intellect. And you got to believe that you're worthy and deserving of more. You got to believe that you're worthy and deserving of God's best. You got to believe that you're not an accident, right? We've all screwed up. I've screwed up so many times, but it's beyond screw-ups. It's beyond the failures. That the fact that you have breath and you're listening to Sean right now, you're watching this podcast right now, God's not done with you yet. You got to be crazy enough to believe in yourself. You got to be crazy enough to know that there's still something left in your tank. You got to be crazy enough to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before. And it doesn't matter how many failures and mistakes you've made, because Sean, man, if I had a list,
But I mean, listen, it would be a rap sheet for me. I can tell you that much, mistakes every single day, and I appreciated this time with you, dude. And I know you and I are going to connect further because I see us doing a lot of stuff together in the future. You're going to land the plane here, but I think I already know the answer to this question because we've spoke about it. But how can my audience best support you?
The best way you can support me is just, whether it's with me or anybody, invest in yourself. Make the commitment to invest in you, because we all need help. And you're seeing Daniel Gomez Inspires. I'm nothing without God. And for me, my faith is everything. And my wife and my children, and then my business comes. So really look at where you're at and be honest with yourself, because the only thing stopping you is you. All human limitations are self-imposed. You're limiting yourself. And when you realize that you're limitless, whether it's buying my book, great. If it's buying Sean's book, great. But invest in yourself and commit. Buy both. Commit to investing in yourself, because I'll tell you this: the moment you truly decide to want better, everything changes. And I would encourage you to make that commitment, that you're going to continue to know that you're worthy of this success that God's given you, and that, right, it's going to take time. So I want you to commit by helping yourself to know that you have to have patience. We all want that overnight success, Sean, and I've been there. Like we were talking about it. I've been there. So whatever it is to you, you have to make a financial commitment, because something happens when you sow. This is what I want your audience to catch, is that when you sow seed into somebody else's business, it's just reciprocated. Then people sow, right? The finances come back to you because you reap what you sow. So go to the makings of a millionairemind.com. When you read the book, it's going to change your life. When you get the course, 27 powerful modules. It comes with the workbook, right? We even invested I'll tell you what, whoever buys the course.
You know what? That's not okay. Hold on. That's not ever around. Like, guys, if you buy into a digital course, you are not getting a workbook sent to you.
I'll mail you the workbook.
Wow.
We spent thousands of dollars developing this workbook because it's about the impact. I could have just done cheap and done a PDF, but no, like it's about transforming
that's value.
So that's
that's
man.
Awesome.
And I want to say, Sean, thank you for having me, brother. I had a great time.
Dude,
I'm epic time with you, brother.
Bro, 45 minutes flew by like that, right? I mean, that's when you know you're in good company. So last question, man. How can I best support you?
Man, you're already doing it, brother. Thank you for being you, and you're a blessing. And I want to thank you for just the love you show me and the respect. And I hope I do the same for you too. And, I think part of maturity too. I mean, it's a good example, right? I think your audience needs to hear this. Is sometimes life happens, and like Sean said, we had to move our interview twice, and sometimes the old Daniel would have been like, "Well, screw you, right? I don't need to be on your podcast." But people get sick, right? Right now, I don't feel 100%, but I committed to being on this show, and I showed up, and I just bought some medicine, and it's just like people need to realize that it's you have to mature, and I can tell you, Sean, that I've matured these past 2 years, and I thought I was mature 2 years ago, but it's a never-ending process, man. So
it's always a level up, man. It's always a level up from the time before. Like, how can you get better? And I appreciate you being so patient with me, and I'm excited. I'm glad we finally got it done. And listen, guys, if anything in this interview inspired you, by listening to Daniel Gomez inspire, which I'm sure it did, please share the show. Tag me, tag him in your social stories. We'll add it back to our social platform. And if you're not already following the show or subscribe to my show, please subscribe, listen weekly, and write a review. I love hearing and reading amazing reviews and feedback from all of you guys. So that being said, I love you guys so much. If you're on the East Coast this week, please be careful of Hurricane Ian. Be smart. Don't do anything dumb. Don't go fly a kite or surf. I love you guys. Talk to you soon.